Hey guys, this is the Blue Collar Future Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robison, with co-host today, Jessie Demler. Jesse,
What's
how's
up?
it going?
Good. How are you, bud?
Oh, dude, good. Another day.
Yeah.
Another day of actually sitting around for me. I haven't done much today. Just gone and delivered gifts and stuff. So, saw you were out working today, were you?
Yeah, we went our third tower of Fraco, we had to go anchor into the wall. And so three of us went in there to do it so it wasn't breaking down the guys. Because it takes like an hour or so to get up there and fit everything and do it right. So we just went in on Saturday and took care of it so we were all out of everybody's hair. But easy day.
Yeah. I've seen you post a lot about the Fraco building systems, and you went over to their shop in Canada, right? Recently?
Yeah, they invited us out to Montreal and we went and saw all their production and all that stuff and spent some time with them. They're awesome.
Hmm. How does that system um, compare to what you were doing before? I mean, is it just upgraded scaffolding basically, or like
Yeah,
how is
it's
that?
dude, it's night and day difference as far as like what I grew up on versus what like the stuff that's what because I grew up on between conventional scaffold, which you know of like frames, braces, wood plank, and raisin hangers, and
Mhm.
then we had crank up from bill jacks, which the towers are all the same distance, so they're all still 5 feet apart, and then you have a gear crank on the side, and you can crank it up by hand like this. And then this stuff is all hydraulic and it's on like a two system. So you'll climb up and it clamps it like this, and then it over the ladder rung and then pulls you up with it. And then the dog will stop right here and then he comes open and does it again. But it goes like instead of manually lifting stuff or anything like that, it goes up 7 feet a minute if you wanted it to. And then like we have currently there's 150 linear feet set up. And so all it takes is a lever to move all of that up. And you can keep your masons laying right in their wheelhouse or right at their hip all day. And so instead of having to like lay at your feet and lay at your shoulders on conventional or the amount of effort it takes to raise crank up, that sort of stuff, it just eliminates all of that and makes us a little more efficient and makes the job easier for everybody. Maybe not break everybody down so much.
Yeah. Well, there's something we might touch on later with the efficiency thing.
Yeah.
So
Blah,
yeah,
blah,
we've
blah.
got we've got a couple questions today. We're going to be doing Q&A. Anybody listening, once a month we'll be doing Q&A style episode where we'll probably answer two or three or four questions, depending on the complexity, I guess. And the first one we have is a pretty in-depth question and answer. So I think it'll be a good one to get started with, and it's for Jesse specifically. Um, and it's what is a really realistic timeline for someone who is wanting to get into masonry? What does it look like for a beginner in the trade with little to no experience? Is it like trade school, then job, some sort of one, two, three situation? Let's start there.
Cool. Yeah. So if we think like state specific to you and I, Utah, there's not, I mean, in Salt Lake, there is a trades, you can go do amazing school and get your certifications and whatnot, but it's not the popular route, if you will, because we don't have a Mason, like a union here that's has any decent representation. So
Is
most,
there one, or is it just not represented very well?
yeah, there's BAC one, I think, whatever it may be, but they just don't like, we've talked to them before and because it's something personally, like a unit, it's something that makes everybody stronger, as far as, and it raises pay and all that stuff, or that's what it's supposed to do. But they just don't have anything for like the stuff they've offered us is like, well, we have this job in Rock Springs, and like we'd be done with it in 3 weeks, like sort of stuff.
Yeah.
They just they don't have any pull, and maybe it's just because of the right to work state or sort of thing. I know that there was a masonry union back in the day, but I think it fell apart um, maybe it was the 80s or 90s whenever everything crashed is what my old man was telling me because that's when they went out to it had to be the 90s because that's when they went out to Nevada and were working on like the Air Force Base and all that sort of stuff out there because that's where work was. And that's yeah. But yeah, it
Yeah.
used to be, but it just doesn't exist for us.
That
So
I mean, getting off topic already, I didn't know there was a cement finishers union
hmm
in Utah, but there is. There's a local two here. I don't know a single person in it, and I don't know how much pull they have, but I hardly doubt. I mean, highly doubt that it's anything worth it. So, people
yeah.
listening, depending on where you are, union might take care of all of this, but
hmm
it'll still be the same process that we're gonna kind of go over here. So,
Yeah. And so like if there was a union or like if you look at the East Coast or the West Coast, like the northern West Coast, I guess California's probably the same, but those are where we're strong, right? But those guys, like you'll go through an apprentice program through the union, you'll come up, you learn through school, you get all your certifications. They are supposed to put you in places where you work, that sort of thing. But here where there's none of that, you're going to show like you learn everything at the job. At least that's how we do it. And you start as a laborer or a hod tender, and that's your most of the time the guys like first day there, we're gonna have you shovel mud, make sure that everybody has mortar, learn how to stock out, that sort of stuff. Like that's where their the baseline is really. And then over time you'll accumulate the skills of like building scaffold, running equipment, like how to mix the mud, making cuts, like all that sort. You'll just kind of gather those. And it seems like it depends on the guy, or girl, but it depends on them. But I have kids or guys coming in that it's within like a year, year and a half, 2 years. Like obviously I know out the gate what kind of worker they are and that sort of stuff, so I can try to fast track them into learning all that stuff because they'll pick it up really quick and they'll be ambitious. And once they've mastered those skills, you move up, right? And so once you're good at that and proficient at that, you can move on to the wall and start trying to like what we usually do is get them familiar with it. I try to let the guys I know that might be interested, uh, every once in a while, like, hey, dude, come lay a couple, like let them get their hand on it. So it's not like the first day that they get invited to go lay on the wall is a brand new experience to them. Or if we're doing all of our tooling and striking and like all that sort of stuff, we'll invite them in to like, hey, come do this and like see what we're doing and that sort of thing. Or at least I try to be good about that. But yeah, so it's basically start at that general hot tennis stage, move up to the skills, and then once you prove that like you're proficient and you want to stay there, then you can move into being an apprentice on the wall. And that's kind of a in limbo position when you're learning because you still have someone that needs to replace you and then while you're trying to learn. So like when I was a kid, I would just try to get as far ahead as possible so that I had time to get on the wall. And that's how like a lot of the old school guys did it is like as long if you got so far ahead and everybody was starting and they couldn't ask you for anything, you could obviously get in there and it wouldn't screw you over on the back end. But now we've got enough guys personally that like as long as as long as there's someone else to like pick up their position, it's not so bad. But you're still in limit. Like if you're the low man on the totem pole, so like if something goes awry over there and you know everything, you got to hop up and go help them out and then jump back in and until you get to the point where like they can run without you, and then you're spending time on the wall and like in that kind of adage of we tell her, I was like, I don't care how many bricks you can lay, I just care about you laying them well, right? So like don't try to keep up with me and lay 30 brick a course, just lay three. Because that's three that I don't have to lay. But if you lay 10 really shitty ones, I got to fix all of them.
yeah.
And so you spend a little bit of time in there as you're honing your skill and like doing that and helping strike and just kind of getting a feel for things and you grow up through that. And then I'd say it's probably another 3 years of just like constant, like learning all of the tricks of the trade and all that sort of stuff before you're like proficient or like what we consider proficient. You can go like build leads, set things up, like get ahead of things, and like we don't really have to worry about you so much. And obviously, like daily repetition, it comes a little quicker than that. But as far as going away from like those guys are the middle of the wall or next to a journeyman after like 2 or 3 years, you can kind of be trusted to be out, like whether it's setting, like I said, setting the corner, building lead, or like taking kind of care of your stuff over there. We don't have to worry about you so much as production or like your production and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
I can
yeah.
imagine being so from my experience in the trade and then like training people and stuff, I can imagine it would be hard to join one of these trades and move up without being curious and like putting yourself out there. So I'd imagine that's probably an important key to getting
Hmm.
started in these is like, hey, let me do that. Hey, let me do this instead of just waiting for it to be given to you. Um, like you said, work, get far enough ahead with the mud mix for the guys that are on the wall that you can jump in and be like, hey, let me try that for a minute. Um,
Hmm.
that I imagine would be a fast track to um, becoming proficient,
Right.
if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys that just kind of come in and just expect to be just given their spot, just because they're
Hmm.
there. That seems to be a pretty common mentality nowadays.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, I'm not going to drag you along. Like you've got to step up to the plate per se, like I need you, like it's the position and the rise to the rankings is given to the person that's like actively trying to do it. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna force you to like, hey, dude, get your ass in gear and come do this. Because like, if I have to push you to do that, I'm gonna have to push you to do this part too. So,
Yeah, I mean that's the part. That's the part that's hard about employees is then you've got to gauge people's willingness to try new things as
mhm.
you know giving them more responsibility because if they're not willing to try new things and then they're not very confident in themselves and it's really hard to give them any extra responsibility or teach them anything new if they're just content just being there and doing what they're told.
Yeah, and that's I try to have those conversations with like the guy, like I call them younger guys because they're usually younger than me, but I try to have that like once you get to a certain point, I'm like, you know, whether it's a couple months or a year down the road, I try to have that conversation of like, what do you want to do? Like what's your goal here so that I know? Because then like I can't read your mind. So it's if you're just one of those guys, it's like I'm good where I'm at, whatever. If you want to go learn how to operate the equipment, I can, put you on that path. If you want to learn how to become the mason, I can put you on that path. I just need to know. But yeah, it's a little bit down the road once they've been there long enough and you can see that they're going to stick it out. Just kind of that conversation, like I said.
I wonder how it would be in a smaller company. I mean, what do you think? Have you seen different masonry companies where people have a hard time moving up and it's not necessarily their fault? Or do you think that most people, if you're, you know, willing to, work hard enough to get ahead of all of the masons and do all that and jump on the wall, you think people will gladly teach you how to do that? Or do you think that there's some guys out there that'd be like, nah, nah, you're not ready yet, or that type of stuff?
100%, dude. There's always the crabs in a bucket type of people. Like if you try to like the crab, if you try to climb out of the bucket, the group will pull you back down. And that's a problem with our trade is there's a lot of those of the older group that don't it's like gatekeeping. They don't want you to help them, but they just want to complain that kids don't want to do anything these days. But they're not meeting them in the middle either. And I've seen it, especially like smaller crews, maybe like the 1 to 5 guys, you might have the opportunity, a little more opportunity because they need you to, like, and you have the time, especially like little residential jobs, stuff like that. But it seems like there is a lot lost in that, like maybe 5 to 20, or bigger size that
Oh,
where you're
so
you're
you're
running into those old boys.
you're saying that like a smaller crew, you might have more opportunity to grow than like say a bigger crew where they're just going to need you to run all the mud that you can because there's so many masons that you don't have a chance,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, because you'll have a smaller crew is usually like you got to imagine if it's 5 guys, it's just they're pretty tight knit because there's not a lot of masons out in our area, like relatively. So they're pretty tight knit. So especially if you have a couple of those old guys that are like the genuine nice dudes that care about you, they're gonna with a smaller crew, as long as you show up, like the kid that shows up early and gets mud made before they even get there and has all their stuff prepped and all that stuff, they're gonna try to move him and like give him the skill set or her. But they're gonna try and help that kid progress, and they can because it's a smaller group, and like I said, that's usually a residential crew, and you get a little more like time with things than we do in the commercial world and sort of stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, step by step, as you would be, just to sum it up, is you would start off hod tending, uh, essentially,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
maybe then after a year or so, you've had some experience. You've hod tended, you've had maybe some experience laying brick or block or whatever you're doing, and then by then you can jump on the wall potentially and train there. And then
Yeah, it's yeah.
after you become a mason, and then that doing that for a couple years, then maybe you can be a foreman,
So
essentially.
the foreman takes some time because you got to be able
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like it's the same as the journeyman. The word journeyman comes from like being able to journey out on your own. In the foreman position, you got to be able to one work with people, so that doesn't always work for everybody. And then you've got to be able to solve all those problems on your own. So that comes a little down the road. The whole thing about like 10,000 hours is pretty true. I think usually most see it as like it's a 7 year process of becoming a journeyman mason, which is about 10,000 hours at full time. And then that's when you can really solve all your own problems, lead a wall, whatever you got to do, sort of thing. And then if that's the path for you and you want to go toward foreman, you can obviously work up from there and start becoming a leader within your group and all that sort of stuff.
And that's the stage you're at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Foreman and, plus a little extra, I'm assuming, right?
yeah. I am the foreman on site and run the crew and make sure like I take care of all that stuff. I do have a production lead who's a little older than me, great mason. Came to us from Salt Lake, moved up here, and he's like my wall boss, if you will. And so he makes sure everything in there is taken care of, and then I've been running, like make sure all the job site, everything's ready ahead of us so that we can keep running. And then once I'm done with my stuff, I go join them on the wall because I still like laying brick. Like I enjoy it, and it definitely makes my day go by quicker.
Well, that's an interesting thing to think about because a lot of people use I just watched a movie the other day, which I've seen a bunch and I like, Goodwill Hunting,
Hmm.
and they talk about in that movie like laying brick as if it's like hard, undesirable things to do. And I mean, I think a lot of people have that mindset about it, but I can't even imagine how you can see that because it looks so satisfying. If you've done it for long enough and you're not doing it anymore because you're too busy running jobs and stuff, I can see how it would be really easy to miss doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get it too. Like you do concrete, so there's
Yeah. Yeah.
there's plenty of your job that's satisfying, but there's a million people that would probably hate doing or say they hate
Yeah.
doing that sort of labor, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy to think about just the way that people think about this work is like even the way that they talk about it has a negative connotation to it where
Mm.
like they're like, oh, you really want to lay brick the rest of your life? It's like, I mean, it's I could think of worse
Yeah.
things to do. Like
Yeah.
seriously.
To me, it's like it'd be the same as if, like, from my perspective, I'd be like, "Do you really want to type on a keyboard all day? Like, that would drive, sit in a cube. It would drive me nuts." But
Dude,
that's,
for real.
you know, that's why there's different things for different people. And
Hmm.
yeah, what do you do? But
Right.
now I'm thinking about, I was like, one thing I would like to do as far as with the progression of like the people that work with us and maybe that hands-on experience is getting a area in the shop set up to like maybe where I could lead some classes or like something like that on Saturdays or something and like have setups, kind of like Ashton does, that masonry girl,
Yeah,
how she
yeah.
has
That's what I was
those
gonna
school
say.
setups. Yeah, how she has those setups for school and stuff. That'd be cool. And then like be able to let the guys like whether they want to just come see how it is or if they want to get better at something, I could like have areas set up like, hey, you're gonna build a lead here and I'll like critique you through it, or if it's learning to lay down the line, all that sort of that would be that's something that it would be cool, but I'm gonna need your help because we got to pour concrete on that floor.
I I have thought a lot about just kind of going along these same lines about having like a almost like a training program or like
Mhm.
having having like a just something where we can share with people who are starting off where they can go like find resources on the way we do things and what they need to know, what they can learn, some realistic progressions, best practices, all that type of stuff. And
Mhm.
and then like you said, having days where you can have them try because with concrete, as I'm sure with laying brick is the same, like there's a lot of days where it's not really ideal to just throw someone out there to finish, a set of stairs, let's say. I mean, there's
Mhm.
a lot of the year is pretty hard to teach a guy how to do that and just like
Mhm.
let him go at it without any concern because the concrete's setting up can't take forever. Like there's very few scenarios that works. Like this time of year, the winter is probably the best time for us to be training people, but also it's
Sure.
our least busy time of year coming into, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I think everybody works on. Um, the progression is probably the same for just about everybody in any trade, but I think the important thing is for people that are getting started is be willing to learn and like really, really try to pay attention to how things are done so that
Mhm.
when people start teaching you, you can be like, oh yeah, I see. I can see why you might start your lead this way or something like that.
Yeah, do you just the being a sponge is a good idea. Like being like self-motivated and be a sponge and just be willing to listen and learn.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think this is off topic, but I think that's I know the big thing we always talk about is like how do we get people involved in the trades as if that's the problem. And it is it's whatever. But I think one of our big issues is going to be transferring that wealth of knowledge from the older generations to that younger generation because these guys are probably going to retire quicker than they can give that to these guys. So, like you said, of like being able to compile that resource and figure out how to get it to everyone of like how to do this. So like maybe if you had the training area and had like a video program and stuff, we could do content and all that sort of things and try to produce that sort of stuff so that it's out there without losing all of that knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I've thought about a lot because I have so much content I could probably create little mini courses, I guess, for the people that work for us specifically,
Hmm.
but even distribute that out to people that don't work for us, but just to be like, here's a scenario, here's a situation, this
Hmm.
is what you do,
Yeah.
you know, and go through that line and that would be super, super helpful. Hmm.
Yeah, because like it's like how do I solve these problems? How do I do like
Yeah. Yeah.
basically learning those skills from the journeyman that were passed down to that and before it gets lost.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Something to think
Yeah.
about. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
maybe we'll we'll start a contractor coaching program.
Oh, geez, yeah. Dude, I wanted like this idea has been in my mind forever because I know it would be helpful. And then it kind of started going towards that direction of like this contractor coaching.
Hmm.
And I very quickly like shut that down because I'm so freaking sick of all the dang coaches nowadays. I'm like they're all just full of crap and I don't want to be a part of that system. So I have to
Yeah, I
find a way
feel
to make it more authentic than
right.
they
And
are.
that's I know there's some out there. We know a couple that are like those are actually genuinely good dudes. But
Yeah.
the I would I just feel like it would be playing into the stereotype to be the content creator construction guy that did that. I I'm gonna wash my hands of that.
Oh yeah. I think I can stay away from that for now. I don't need it. Plus it also I've become aware that Utah is like a hub for that type of stuff and I don't really
Yep.
want to play into that stereotype either. So
Yep. 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 Yeah. The income would be
there's
cool, but like I'm good, bro. Yeah.
So let's see. There's another part of this. Oh yeah, work-life balance while working in masonry.
Mhm.
Yeah, so what's kind of your realistic work-life balance? And I think you can probably break it down to when you have jobs close by and then
Mhm.
also on jobs where you're traveling. Because I know you said before that you guys have traveled quite a
Mhm.
bit. So, and I bet there's a lot of people that do that as well.
Yeah, then that's there's a couple like IMS and those guys that they're going to be everywhere because they're the biggest masonry company in like the western half of the United States. So they're covering that whole spread from Nebraska to California, and they'll send guys wherever. But we're luckily local and have been for a while. We've just been working up on campus, and so my life has been easy. And we talked about traveling. We go to up into Idaho to Rexburg and Rigby and Driggs and Rock Springs or Southern Utah, stuff like that. But it's been a minute. But even in that situation, it's leave on Monday, be back Thursday. See it 3-day weekend. And that's typically you're either going to get the typical 410s or 5/8s, depending on the time of year. Like if it's summer and I can get the daylight out, I try to do 410s myself. But a lot of the old boys don't want to work that long. So it is what it is. So we'll if I have a mixed crew, what we like to do is work 8.5 or 9 each day and then take off early on Friday. So then we actually get some weekend, because 2 days is never enough. Like it's never going to be enough. But I also can't burn everybody out trying to get there. And that's pretty typical for us. So, like I said, if you're out of town, it's Monday through Thursday, or like some guys probably do 2 weeks on, 1 week off. But as far as we go, it's Monday to Thursday, a little bit of drive time, and you're home. And that drive time's on the clock, so that's a nice save. And like now, where I'm 7 minutes from my job site, like I just wake up in the morning, get my coffee, drive up there, I'm home. Home every night, home on the weekends, and there's a lot of people that have like the just going back to the negative talk about construction, like you can't have a life or like all the stuff breaks you down. Dude, I've been to 11 different countries and I've been all over the place and I like there's still time to go golf and boat or do 100 things or spend time with my wife and the dog and whatnot. So it's not too bad as long as you carve it out for yourself, but it's not like this is all consuming. It's just like any other job. There are days where we stay late. There are days where we go home early. There's days where I work Saturday morning just because I can get up and be done by the time that everybody else is awake and sort of things. But it's not too bad. It's probably no different than concrete. Like sometimes you have pours that go late. Sometimes you got to get some shit done and then, work it out on the other end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, that people have kind of a misunderstanding of that you can't have a life while working in construction. Like some of our guys, like we pretty much try to get everybody 40 hours, and
Hmm.
that's it. You're not required to work longer than that.
Yep.
If you do work longer than that, it's not like you don't get compensated for it. A lot of time, it's overtime plus bonuses for working extra.
Hmm.
And yeah, if you don't want to work longer, you don't have to. I got one guy with us, actually. I was talking about it today. Like last week, I think, we had a short day on Friday, and uh, one of the guys was asking him, like, hey, we can go do this and that and uh, save us having to do it next week. And he looked at his watch and he's like, nah, I'm at 40. I'm good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's not, people think you're compelled to just be there constantly. And I think maybe it depends on the crew.
Yep.
But most people are going to try to get you 40 hours, make sure you're getting a paycheck and you can work longer if you want.
Mhm.
Don't even have to work that long if you don't want to. Yeah, you really can do what you want, but you got to be clear about what that is too.
And I try to be good about that too with everybody. I'm like, your life is more important than work. Like, yes, we have shit to get done, but like your life outside of work is far more important. Let's go enjoy it.
Hmm.
It's like you said, get 40 and then, or, take a vacation, use your PTO, use your vacation time, like do that sort of stuff and then live your life. Because in the end of it, you don't want to get back and be like, oh, well, at least I laid a million bricks, like it's like, what else did you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that going into going into even working for somebody, like it's a contract between two people. You're agreeing to do X to get, this dollar amount. You don't have to just agree to whatever they say. Like if you go into it and they say they're gonna, you only work 40 hours a week and then you're working 50 plus constantly,
Hmm.
it's, go find a different job, tell them, you don't want to, like whatever it is, but it's an agreement between two people. You're agreeing
Hmm.
to work under these terms, right?
Hmm.
So you can decide almost all of that going beforehand, but I think a lot of people just do what they're told, and that's it.
Right.
Like they don't want to take that um, responsibility or accountability, and a lot of people are fine if you want to like work extra, like you were saying, 410s, so that you can
Yeah.
have a day off. Like you can work extra to get more time off, down the road, especially, and get, compensated really well for it. I think most people are willing to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Where you're in the, excuse me, with concrete, because I meant like we're able to work all winter because we throw up tents and heat with, gosh dang it. With concrete, do you guys ever do you work more during the warm months so that it compensates for the potential time off during the winter, or do you guys just how does that shake out for you?
yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we do. Like we put in more time throughout the year while we have the time s- in preparation for the times that we can't work in the winter.
Right.
So like I don't even really keep track of my hours anymore. So I don't really
Yeah.
know, but like when I was counting, keeping track of my hours when I was kind of first starting out, the first few winters were all over the place. There were some winters. There was one winter I think where I had almost 40 hours every single week because the we get stopped from storms and super cold temperatures. So if it doesn't storm a
Hmm.
bunch and it doesn't get really, really cold, there's not really a ton that'll stop us. Or if we're just not that busy. Like last winter we just weren't that busy. Plus it was storming, so we didn't work a whole ton. There's some
Hmm.
winters where weeks in a row I've gotten 20 hours. But we prepare for that earlier in the year. So there's a few times that we work a little bit longer here and there to try to get work done and put money in the savings account to, prepare for the winter. So
For sure. For sure.
so that's but I mean, that being said, we really try to stay close to 40 because, everybody has a life. Work life, like work is not your life unless you want it to be, but like you don't have to just sit here and work constantly. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I've done my time of, you work 40 hours a week and then go pick up side jobs, like when we were trying to buy the house and stuff, where I'm just sun up to sundown every day possible. But I'm over it. I'll take you know, whether it's going on Saturday for half a day or things like that, or pick up a side job every once in a while. And but you have the opportunity because you have a skill set of whether it's concrete or bricklaying, block laying, or stone laying. You have a skill that provides you an opportunity to work as much as you want. So you want to get your 40 minimum and go home, that's cool. You want to get 40 and then do some stuff on the side and make some extra cash, you can. It is what it, and like you said, you got to find that balance of what you want to do and what your goal is for that period of your life, I guess. Because it's
yeah. Well, and people go through seasons too, right? Like this year I've been working like crazy because we've been building the house, and so I've been working extra, at my job, but also, going home and working on the house until,
Mhm.
until we got it done. And I feel like it's actually been the last couple years where I've just been like work, 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 trying to make more money, trying to get more skills. This podcast has been taking a bunch of my time, trying to become, more valuable as a person, let's say.
Right.
Right now, I feel like I'm in a position where I just kind of want to just hang out. You know, I,
Mm,
I I've gotten to a point with the podcast. It doesn't quite take as much time from me. And like I feel like I've gotten to this point where I just want to work 40 hours, do what I can, and just relax, right? And so I
yeah.
think I think you have to take that into consideration too when you're working. Like if you start at a job and you have time and you have the motivation, you probably should put almost all of your energy that you can into it.
Mm,
Get as good as you can, whatever, because there will come a time where you don't have the time or the energy to want to just work constantly. Um,
mm,
and yeah, to me, that feels like I'm kind of in that point right now. I'm not. I just go through these phases where it's like,
mm.
okay, I'm down to just work, 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 and then other times I'm just like, you know what, I'm good. I don't want to take on that side job. I'm gonna tell them
Yep.
a crazy high price so that they don't say yes, like that type
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yep. Exactly. And it's like I said, it's seasons. And then, but I do think if we were giving advice to a younger man, I think it is what you said. Agree. Like, I would agree that to front load that if you're willing to and able to, because like if you put all that effort in the beginning and build this nest egg, if you will, or whether it's a nest egg of money or skills, and just put all a massive effort in the beginning, the next part of your life is far easier,
Yeah.
or
And
should be.
like exactly. Like a lot of younger guys, I mean, you can think about it a couple ways because a lot of younger people want to just hang out, party, do that type of stuff and travel. And I think that's probably a good thing to do early on before you
Mhm,
start getting more responsibilities and get more involved in your job where you actually need to be there instead of just being able to take off whenever, or you
mhm,
have like family, kids and stuff. But also in that time, you should still be devoting yourself to developing skills and putting every, second you can before you start getting like, the added complications of having a dog, or like getting married and having a, dog or a
mhm.
kid or whatever it is. Like whatever it
So,
is that might be silly, but it's like, oh, now I have this responsibility that takes just, that much more time and now I just don't really want to be at work all the time.
right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I think people just need to like get clear on what you want. Like you said when you ask your newer guys, like, what do you want to do here? Yeah,
Mhm,
like, are you fine with where you're at, or do you want more? Whether that's you want to become better, you aren't sure, um, whatever it is, just double down on that and do it because at some point you will want to be able to just hang out and be comfortable. But maybe it takes a little bit of being uncomfortable and working extra to get to that point. You never know.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, that's definitely like I said again. If we're talking to a younger person, it would be like you said, figure out what it is that you want, or like the person that you want to be, and work and set yourself up to get there.
And maybe also people don't think you can do that doing trade work. I mean, it sounds silly that like because you would assume, you sit down to a kid and like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most kids aren't gonna say, oh yeah, I want to be a brick mason, like, or I want to be
Hmm.
a cement mason, concrete finisher, whatever.
Hmm.
Like if you fall into that and you have that opportunity and you don't have, you're not going somewhere else, like there's nothing wrong with that. I think I'm seeing more lately people wanting to actually get into the trades like this, like people that are listening to this that might actually want to become a brick mason. Like you
Hmm.
can have a great life and do, what you want. There's really nothing wrong with it. And I think it's mainly because of people like you sharing on social media about, you know, your life and what you can do. And they're like, oh, wow, that's surprising. I didn't realize that. And it becomes more of an option. because they realize they can sit down and be like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to make
Hmm.
money being a brick mason, and they can do it.
Yeah, I think a big like construction has done a terrible job of marketing itself. We don't, and hopefully we're changing that with social media, but they've just done a poor job of marketing like where this could be beneficial or like what the real point of this is. Because I mean, it's like I said, 40 hours a week you go lay brick for an hourly wage, but I can turn around on a Saturday and build a mailbox and make $1,200 in 5 hours. Like that's like I don't know, like maybe there's probably someone on the planet that like 5 hours of their time, $1,200 isn't worth it. But most of the people I know that like you want to go make $1,200 on a Saturday, that probably benefits you.
Yeah, well, and just realizing that you can do it. I mean, I didn't even realize how much you can realistically make doing masonry stuff until I had done my fireplace and was talking to you about them, and it
Hmm.
was fun and I enjoyed it, and you can do really well. That type of stuff can come, and you can make pretty good money, and it really wouldn't take you that long either.
Oh,
It's just about having the skill set to do it.
yeah, 100%. And that's yeah, that the garage I was doing there in Morgan, it took us, I think I was yeah, we were under 15 hours and that job was $4,400.
Yeah,
And so it's like that's
yeah,
like you give me the 2 Saturdays and I pocket $2,500.
yeah. It's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just understanding you can actually do it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I just don't feel like people grasp enough that it isn't that hard and you can make good money. Um, like it isn't as hard as people think, as people
Right.
say it is. And in the trades, they don't break down your body as much, and hopefully we can kind of shed some light on that. Like what breaks down your body more working in these jobs is the lifestyle that people live while they're doing it. That's
Mhm.
common, like freaking raw dogging themselves going to work,
Yeah.
on no food and freaking,
White
caffeine
white white
and
monsters and a 24
alcohol.
pack energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I agree. And I think the other thing too is like one, you can make money, but two, if you develop a skill like this or like yours, you can work anywhere. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's construction's going on every part of the planet. So like if you had the skill set, you can move to wherever you want to be and still do that. So I
that's
think
some
that's cool as well.
that's something I've thought about. Like, I went to Japan a couple years ago. Well,
Hmm.
oh shoot, it's actually been a long time. 2019. Yikes. Anyways, dude, I was paying attention there when I was looking for concrete stuff, and we're gonna get off topic a little bit, but like they do concrete there. It's not as much. I saw one driveway to a house that was concrete, and their houses are tiny, and their driveway
Hmm.
was tiny. They do a lot of like paver, um, like that type of stuff, and
Okay.
and maybe some asphalt, but like not as much concrete flat work. So I was like looking around like, man, it'd be weird to do what I do here. But I did see a concrete pump and it was pretty cool pumping inside a building there.
Yeah.
Like, but they're doing stuff, it's not like it's not going on anywhere else. Like I think
Hmm.
the amount of concrete here is way, way more than other countries, but like they still do that stuff. Like I know um brick is super, super popular in the UK to
Yeah.
do. Like
Yeah.
it's everywhere. Like it's way more than here. Um
Yeah. Yeah. Europe has far more masonry than we do here.
yeah. And so I mean, it's yeah, like we're saying, it's going on everywhere. You can find that type of stuff, and it's also not gonna just disappear. Like your job isn't gonna just dissipate, and your skills are, they can't take that away from you either. So,
Hmm. Yeah. It's something that would benefit, like if you choose this path, it can benefit you in wherever you want to be.
mhm. Awesome. Well, we got one more question, maybe more like a little side topic about efficiency.
We're good at
So,
side topics.
oh, jeez. So now, now that we've talked about how you can make money doing trade work, how about being efficient so you don't actually lose that money and you can like generate a profit while, having employees or whatever. But like as an employee too, how you can be efficient so that you can make more money yourself. Um, See a lot of people be just like lollygagging at work, basically like doing things two times, like like you're not doing it right the first time and having to redo it. Let's go from your perspective. What are some things you guys do to be really efficient right now that maybe you've changed or you see a lot of people don't do that type of stuff?
Yeah. For us, I mean, prep and everything like that is important. So, and that's on having the competent laborer that, wants to be there and wants to get ahead and have that kid be able to recognize what that side of the wall needs to do to get ahead. Because if I have all brick all day, mortar all day, and I can keep all 13 masons laying all day, that's the best way to make money, Like if everyone's we can't put in a draw or anything until wall is up. So it all starts on the other side of the wall with the pod tenders and the lead over there, recognizing, okay, like getting all this stuff ahead of time, having the cuts all done ahead of time, all that sort of stuff. So you can just keep going. There's never any breakdown. And that's just on like recognition and communication. So like it's my job as the foreman to communicate where we're going, and make sure that everybody understands that and what needs to be done, and they understand like the layout of the land and all that sort of stuff, and what the wall needs to keep going and what our goal is. I think that's a good one, is like having a square footage or a unit goal, like, and make sure everybody knows it. Um, and that way we can keep hitting that goal. And like I said, recognition, like recognize when the guys hit that, and like uh be good about speaking on recognition, not just criticism. I think that goes a long way as far as creating an efficient crew, because if they know that no matter what they do, it's all the same shit coming down the pipe, then why would they do it? But I think ours is in the prep work and the motivation and like I said, the recognition, all that sort of stuff, and getting ahead. As a company, having something like getting the right equipment that you need. So like we upgraded to the Fraco system, which is the hydraulic scaffold that makes us far more efficient than we were on conventional scaffold or even crank up. Um, having the right telehandler, having the right mixer, the silo setup rather than trying to do it by hand, like whatever it may be. I think as a company, recognizing those needs and meeting them. So really top down, just kind of recognizing what the job needs to get done and putting those pieces in play. What
But
about yourself over on your end?
yeah, so definitely prep and communication. To like having everybody understand kind of what needs to happen, um,
Mhm.
what we need to maybe get done for the day to set us up for the next day,
Mhm.
that type of stuff. But from what I'm hearing from you and kind of my experience, a lot of it comes down to communication. So
Mhm.
let's go from this aspect. What about efficiency as a job site whole, where you working around a bunch of different trades and maybe your general contractor is not holding up on that side. So like,
Mhm.
do you guys your guys' efficiency affects the whole, like say on the building you were just doing, it affects the whole job because you guys were doing um, doing the structural stuff, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So understanding what needs to happen from the general contractor is super important to get other trades in there and knowing when you need to be there doing certain aspects so the different trades can get in and do that type of stuff.
Yeah. And they try to mitigate that with a weekly meeting, but like the schedule meeting, but it's things go awry, whatever it may be, and the meetings are arbitrary, and it's like like for instance, we showed up to the next job site, they're 2 months behind, they act like it's my job to fix it. It's, we get there and they don't have stuff prepped for me to keep going, and then they get it prepped, and then we get that done, and the next area is not ready. So it's like you said, I think the communication and trying to rely on that, like be vocal in the meeting, be vocal about what you need, um, and get through to those. Like everything relies on communication because, like, I don't know if the window guy's waiting on us to get that stuff done. I don't know if he's waiting on like this area or that area. But if he tells me, I can focus on, hey, he has a shipment of stuff. I need to get that done so that he can finish what he's doing, and then we, leapfrog each other around the job site and stuff like that. And that's what happened at the job site you visited us on. Is Tyler with the glass crew was like, hey, I have all this showing up for that east facing wall. The crane's out of here December 2nd because Brock's gonna come take it down. Like that's where I need you to be. And so we hammered that out, and then we were on that north side where you visited. And so yeah, I would say the majority of efficiency probably comes down to communication, which we may or may not be good at in construction some of the time.
Yeah, no, it's a bad thing, and it's hard because like on a residential aspect, um, a lot of trades, I think max like the framers on a house probably take the longest to
Hmm.
get in and out of there. Really the framers, like once they're done, other people can get in there and start going. But if you're not communicating constantly, with different trades, they won't know, that they're needed. And then if you call them last minute, they've got other jobs they need to go to. It's not like they can just drop what they're doing and come when you call, one day in advance, right? And
Right.
if they show up and people are in their way, they're going to just be annoyed. So it's a little bit harder, I feel like. And so I can't get too annoyed with the GCs on like residential projects, but I think the really efficiently run jobs have an open line of communication between all the trades, right? And
Yeah. 100%.
where it's a residential project, like that requires a general contractor to be there like every single day actively planning because
Hmm.
things go awry. People, you know, have something come up, they can't make it. Maybe you have somebody else that can come and step in and fill in a spot that they were taking. Stuff like that. Like it has to be on-site adjustments and someone has to be there every day. Like the problems that we have a lot of times is when a general contractor is not available.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
out of town, they're not on the job, checking every day, making sure it's done. They tell us something's ready for us to pour, and we go there and the bricklayers are in the way, the scaffolding's in the
Yeah.
way of our driveway, like that type of stuff. I mean, and
Hmm.
it just takes a visit to the job, but makes it way less efficient for everybody else if you're not there. And so efficiency almost seems, aside from like a in-company efficiency on getting your job done, it almost
Hmm.
seems like efficiency is very heavily dependent on the person running the job.
100%. And that travels to commercial as well. Like it all depends on the GC and the superintendent. Like I can go as fast as I can, but if the people aren't going to get me the precast that I need, I'm going to pull guys off site. And that's what we're going to do over there, that other job, because they still don't have the interior precast done, even though that job's been going for 2 years.
Yeah,
Like,
and
so
they've
it's,
and they've known about it for that long too.
yeah, and that's like we did a job before that for the same contractor, and that superintendent was on the ball. Everything ran perfectly smooth up there. So it's like you said, it depends on the communication as a whole and the accountability of the person running the show. Like they need to, I can't imagine residential because like I don't think I've ever been to a residential job where I'm aware of who the GC is unless like I've communicated with them personally to give them my bid,
Yeah.
you know, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Like they're not there every day unless
Yeah.
they're doing the framing or doing the concrete themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard pressed to find them. And that's the hard part about working for general contractors, is if you do not have one that is present,
Hmm.
it's really hard to get the job done, or at least a superintendent that's there. Um, I think we're fortunate right now that we have some contractors, some very over involved, and that is a whole other problem where they're,
Yeah.
stepping in and overthinking and just causing more problems than they're fixing, or yeah, contractors that are there but not really like on top of things.
Hmm.
But we're fortunate enough to have a pretty good set, and that's the hard part, right? Because we've started working for contractors before, and it just hasn't worked out because they're not on top of it, and
Hmm.
we can't show up to a job and bring our crew there, and you say it's ready, and it's not even prepped. Like we don't do a lot of our grade work prep, like our gravel prep. Most of the time, the general contractor has the excavator do that or
Hmm.
whoever. And we've had people tell us multiple times over the years, "Oh yeah, 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 that's ready." And if it's far away and we don't want to take a trip out there to check to make sure, so we just decide to show up and form or whatever for our pour, and it's not
Hmm.
ready. That's a pain in the butt. Then we gotta reschedule, switch things around, that type of stuff. Like yeah, it's a pain. And having a good general contractor that actually does what they say they're gonna do and is in constant communication with people is huge. So
Hmm. And that's, yeah, yeah, you gotta have someone either there or willing to be there at a certain, like, there, from my, like, someone from the GC is always there, but like a residential thing, to me, a lot of the time, I'm like, you are just collecting a 20% or whatever fee of the final bill to know the tradespeople. Like, you're not, like, what do
yeah,
it all seems like it's all, that is one of those things where I'm like, I feel like any homeowner could just be their GC if they knew people that did the trade.
yeah, yeah. No, it's crazy because I had building my house, I was technically the GC. My dad helped a bit, and
Hmm.
and he helped line up quite a few of the trades and stuff, but I was the one here, making sure things were going, according to plan, and I was here every day doing that type of stuff. A lot of general contractors that we've seen, they don't even show up, once a day, let alone once a week. And it's like, what do
Yeah.
you do? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like seriously, these people could just build it themselves if they knew, like if you're not actively there to overcome problems that are arising on the job that need answers and solutions, yeah, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, you're not doing anything other than taking a bunch of money from these people. So
Mhm.
it's crazy, but I
Do
mean,
you, I get this is off topic, but do you guys ever have any of the jobs like where you've seen where maybe they have the QR code or like a group? Because like I have Procore or Control Desk, and I can see like the the blueprints. I can see all my details, and then I can also see communications. Well, it's like there's an observation section, right? Of like people can put in there and comment in the GC and solve those problems, but everybody can see it. And I've seen online of like residential jobs where they've had the QR code or whatever it may be to show that sort of stuff. Have you ever run into that in real life, or is that?
we don't, but if I was a GC, I would definitely implement something like that because that's huge. I mean, j- just being able to be um, just have that sort of space where
Mhm.
things can make be made note of, and all that type of stuff, and you can jump on as a subcontractor and see the progress. So like maybe if you're incentivizing your subcontractors to say when they plan to be there or how much they have done, like
Mhm.
if they've gone and done their job, so you're waiting for them to be done to go do your job. You can see that, and maybe it'll help with scheduling a little bit instead of and maybe help people be a little more proactive. Um,
Yeah, because yeah, that way you would mitigate like the potential of driving to a job that's not ready if you could see
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. If you could see the progress that's been made, but I mean, real life, that's probably hard to do that unless enough GCs were doing it to where
Sure.
it just became part of your every day. Because I think if you tried to implement it as a general contractor, A lot of subs might not want to do it or care.
Sure.
So I mean, that might take a general contractor to just manage it and be like, okay, this person's here, they've done this, or the HVAC guys are planning on being there on the 20th, that type of stuff,
Hmm.
and update it as it goes. That might be a good way to go about it. That would increase efficiency quite a bit.
Yeah.
If you could have your subs see the schedule of the job, that'd probably be
Hmm.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And because that's what we do in commercial. It's like there's typically a weekly meeting where all the foremen are in the room together, and we just like you go through, you do your bullshit safety video and whatever the topic is of the week, and then you get to the point where it's like, okay, everyone discusses what they're doing that week, where they're at, what we've seen, sort of, and coordinate every week. And so, like, in theory, we should be able to do that efficiently, and it doesn't ever work out, and you still end up 2 months behind. But um, and then, like I said, I have apps, whether it's Procore or Autodesk, that I can go look at that and see like, okay, this is done, or like these RFIs or ASIs have been submitted. So like I know if there's a problem in my area, I can see that sort of stuff. So I just wondered if there was anything perhaps smaller scale for the residential side.
No, that would be a really good general contractor to work for that has something like that, though. So, like, I feel like we've focused a lot on efficiency of a job site as a whole.
Hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's
Hmm.
communication. Communication is probably the biggest, the best practice, let's say, of efficiency in general. Just
Hmm.
everybody knowing what needs to happen, whether you're talking about the job site or the job for your company itself. And I mean, we talked a little bit about your, efficiency for your crew. As far
Hmm.
as like, I don't remember if I said or not. Like, as far as efficiency for us, it really is communication as well. So
Hmm.
I think we can just say boil it down to communication and just call that like the best practice possible.
Yeah.
Just make sure everybody knows what needs to happen, whether it's your crew for your job or your job as a general contractor for all your subs. That's typically the best thing,
Yeah.
unless
And
you can think of something else that helps.
I think communication and I guess looking ahead. Like if we're going down to the individual level, being able to have someone or be that person that's willing to like look up and like see, okay, like this is where we're going, this is what we need to get there, that sort of stuff, and then communicate that effectively. And that's top down from DC superintendent, foreman, lead, labor, like everybody can participate in that of like, hey, I can see that we need this, so I need to get it done. Or like, hey, I know we need that many cuts, like that many cut brick to get to the top of this. I can go get ahead of that. I need, that sort of
That
stuff. So,
what you pointed out right there is a really important thing to touch on because a lot of people in trades like that are they're self-employed, they are doing all sorts of different job, they have all sorts of different job titles.
mhm,
It's super important to have your employees be able to handle the day-to-day tasks so that you like enough so that you can be that person that
mhm,
looks up and looks ahead. Because while you may be planning your jobs out, if you can't also like either have someone on the job looking up and being like, okay, we need to do this and this and this in order to get our day going by quicker and be able to get more
mhm,
done. If you can't be that person, you need to at least have someone be that, right? Like a
mhm,
foreman. Like
mhm,
be able to do that with your job lineup, but also day to day. Have somebody just be able to look up and ahead. And that's hard if you are self-performing everything.
right, right,
It's just a constant struggle with people. Yeah, and I've seen it in our business where at times where my dad's had to do like everything constantly. Um,
Hmm.
our efficiency has really gone up with him not having to be there constantly to make sure that things get done.
Hmm.
So, yeah, having someone, be able, like you said, to look up and out instead of just down at what's right in front of them is super, super important.
Yeah, and that's why like where we're set up now is like we have my old man who's keeping the business going, and then you have me who keeps the job site going, and then I have my lead that keeps the production go on the wall. And then behind him I have one of the kids who I like, he's who I trust to lead the labor side of things. And like but then it's just communication from top to bottom of like I can go ask that kid like, hey, what are you seeing? What do you need? What do I need to get ahead? I can ask my production lead like, where are we at? What do we need? Like, are you running at anything? Like that sort of stuff. I can go speak to the GC and figure out like, hey, where do you intend for us to go? Do you have other stuff coming in? I can talk to my old man and be like, hey, what are you seeing? And so it's important to have that from top to bottom and bottom to top communication. And like you said, enable like you got to be that person in certain times, but I think it's also important to enable someone else, like to delegate and enable them to have that responsibility and you know bring them up with you. Because
Yeah.
like I said, I have the lead laborer who I trust, who's like he's not a foreman by any means, but he's the trusted one that I'm like, I know that I can trust you to be able to look up and look ahead and see what you need. And I know that I can trust my production lead on the wall with the masons to look up and do that and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a hurdle I've had to jump over a bunch and still do. Like there's a lot of things I do that are so much focused on like right in front of me. Like if I'm working on a set of stairs or something, finishing stairs or forming them or anything to do with those are like I got to be all in on that.
Hmm.
And it's hard for me to be able to look up and direct and see anything else that's going on if I have to be down and focused on those. So
Mm.
like it's a juggle of figuring out how to get to where you have enough going for people that you can like then turn focus over. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, if you're self-performing and you're the boss, like and you're on the job day to day, like it is super hard. And I don't think it can be overstated that it's like it is a real struggle and it is something that's
Hmm.
like it's not something that anybody ever gets perfect. So realizing that efficiency comes, with time, but also like it is what it is too. So if you're doing what you can, like that is what it is. Like
Yeah.
you can't do everything as the boss. At the end of the day, you have to be able to get people to take over that type of stuff so that you can be like, you know, directing and that
Hmm.
type of crap. So
Hmm.
yeah, awesome. I think we beat that right into the ground.
Yeah, dude, I think we did good. That was a good first Q&A episode, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so this is what you guys can expect from us here. Be doing this type of stuff. I like that.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
a
be
different, that is a change up from what I usually do. I like the technical, you know, shop talk type. That
yeah,
that's
that
that
was
was
good. I
fun.
like that. And I felt like
Awesome.
as far as I'm concerned, it went by quickly. I don't know about the
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
the
It's
people that listen to it,
the
but
people, yeah, the couple people that might be listening in.
yeah.
So, yeah. Awesome. That was great. So, we'll be back next week with probably a topic, or maybe we'll just keep doing Q&As. We're going to kind of see how it goes. Jesse, I appreciate you joining me on this. And yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but if not, we will close out here.
Nope. Always appreciate you, dude, and thanks for
Yeah.
bringing me in. And I guess as far as everybody that's listening, if you have questions you want answered, Jaden has a Discord channel or try to post on the stories, maybe the Q&A to give them that format,
Yeah.
right? Or is the Discord the best option for you?
That's that's actually a good thing you brought that up. I was going to bring that up. So I
Not
took
not
questions,
Discord, but
the channel thing in Instagram. I
yeah.
I think I might have like an email set up in case people like, have a question. They're like, oh yeah, I want to send that in. I might also have just take questions on the story or open it up to just do the from the channel. I haven't quite figured that out. For now, you'll be able to tell I'll be announcing when we take questions. The only thing I didn't like about the channel is it was still like a 24-hour thing. It wasn't like I could set it up and be like
Oh,
a
okay.
permanent spot for questions, which was annoying. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it'll be like either taking them from the story or directing to the channel. I'm gonna kind of play around with that. But yeah,
Okay.
if you guys have questions, be on the lookout for that. Anybody that's listening, I want to try to make it easier so that it's like a just a place you can submit them. So if it has to be by email, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah, we can do that. Or I assume we'll post some form of content that has a permanent form on the feed, and maybe they can leave
Yeah.
comments in there as well.
Yeah, and that's probably as well. I mean, I could for a more permanent one, I could make a post saying, "Yeah, you guys have any questions?" or that type of stuff. So
Yeah, or
yeah,
like if you clip this, maybe include like if you want any questions answered on the show, leave them below.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, be on the lookout for that. So
So yeah, dude.
Jesse, awesome. It was awesome recording with you as always, and we will be back in 2 weeks.
Sound good, brother.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Yep. So yeah.